Nope. Yep. Nope. Yep. Nope. Hey everybody, welcome to a new episode of Double Feature Versus. I am Black Cinephile.
I am AKA Brad.
That is AKA Brad. And before we get into it, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Let us know how we are, give us some feedback, let us bring us into the thing that is called the algorithm. And check out our written film reviews on 8bitwaffles.com. All right, so let's get into it, man. We got a good one today.
We do. We have two movies featuring the stories of the Day of the Dead, which is the Mexican holiday that kind of takes over instead of Halloween, taking place October 31st, November 1st, and is the day of remembrance for those in your family that have passed away. And it's a very spiritual holiday. And as such, we have two pretty good movies that depict it in a child-friendly way.
Yeah. This revolves around the Dia de los Muertos, and exactly how you said, a childlike way. In hindsight, I don't think that's as hard to, even before I see these films, that's not so hard of a thing to pull off, because what I see with a film like Coco is that when playing around with something like that with like childlike with characters that have like childlike figures and stuff like that, it's like I don't think it's that hard to play around with that, like in it from a childlike view.
Yeah, it's the subject of death. So it's a very touchy subject when it comes to like children's films and kind of showing the people that have passed and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it being about the Day of the Dead, they have to kind of go into that world a little bit. And I like that both of these movies took different vantage points in telling the story with the Book of Life and the Coco.
Mm-hmm.
Because they both have like different ways of telling this story. We would have one from a third person perspective and one from a first person perspective in visiting these worlds.
Yeah, I agree. So today we got Book of Life and Coco. So which one do you think we should start off with?
So for this one, I don't think it really matters too much. So I mean, we might as well do like a chronological order for it.
Yeah, it probably wouldn't hurt. Okay, all right. We can start off with the Book of Life, and I'll take this over.
Okay.
All right, so the Book of Life, we have this by director Jorge R. Gutierrez, who was known for being the co-creator of, before this, El Tigre, The Adventures of Manny Rivera on Nickelodeon. So with this film, it basically starts off with a bunch of kids that go on a museum trip. Now these kids, they're kind of like they're kind of like the bad kids of the school. They're kind of like the outcasts of the school.
They're the troublemakers.
Troublemakers, right? So they get dropped off on a museum tour, and the original night guard, he's a little terrified to like have to look over these guys. So this one night guard comes and says, "No." This one museum host comes and says, "You know what? I'll take them. I got them." So she brings them to a secret entryway in the museum. First off, do these kids not know of what was it? Trouble, danger. What is it when you run into an
stranger
adult?
danger?
Stranger danger. This woman just gonna take you to a side entrance of a museum. Your red flags don't pop off.
Also, like, I love the visual effect of like that secret entrance and stuff like that, but some of those kids, they had to be complete idiots to not be like, wait, how do angles work?
Right. Yeah, well, they're the outcasts, so their brains work a little different.
Right.
So
is that your deep cut opinion right there?
Yeah, outcasts look at things differently, so I don't know. But anyway, she takes them to this this underground exhibit where it basically tells a story that revolves around the Day of the Dead, and it revolves around a bullfighter who is in love with a woman. Him and his best friend, who is a warrior, they both kind of have been competing for this woman's affection, and it revolves around them being the living and the two worlds that exist beyond them, which is the land of the remembered and the land of the forgotten. And basically, it's a story. Just talk about it briefly before we go in depth. It's a story about love. It's a story about destiny. It's a story about like staying true to who you are, and basically life and death. And I gotta say, man, this is my first time seeing this film. When we was in like, it grabbed my attention pretty quickly. Like the museum part was kind of like, okay, whatever. This is a nice little prologue to stick around with these kids to get so through them I can get to the story. But dude, the first thing that really got me was like the characters like creation, like they're like Lego toys, like
they're wooden puppets.
right, yeah. It looks so beautiful though. Like it looks
Mhm.
so odd and beautiful at the same time. It's like the torso is like the biggest part on the body. The women are like petite with like big heads. I like the way they're crafted. I think they're crafted very well, and everything, like you said, is playful. Like when someone kind of gets hurt, it's done in a playful way, and then it
Mhm.
can get really dark in some aspects. And I like how the film balances that. It balances light and dark very well.
Right. The like art style that they took with this movie is absolutely fantastic. Like when you have when they're in like the real world with the kids and everything like that, the art style is very ugly, but it's intentionally made to be like that, which typically isn't for me. But when
Mm-hmm.
they went to like the puppets and everything, that you can actually have the space between their joints because they're like puppets or dolls, they're wooden toys, and the way that they move and everything is the way of movement of a puppet. It's not a person. Like when they're doing their walking, it's not like a person walks. It's more like how you would do one of those puppet marionettes, down the street.
Mm-hmm.
The level of detail that they put into that kind of stuff is great, and I absolutely love it. And it definitely is one of the like highlights of this movie is its unique art style, especially because the movie itself is a pretty down to the bones love story between Manalo, the bull rider, Joaquin, the warrior, and then what was her name? Maria,
Mm-hmm.
the girl that they both fall in love with.
And
Uh,
I
I,
No,
go
I'll
on.
go. I was gonna say I love the relationship between Manolo and Joaquin because even though they've always had like a rivalry over who is gonna like grab Maria's heart, and Maria's like, listen, I belong to no man. I choose who I fall in love with. I don't get chosen. I love their dynamic, dude, because they're like brothers.
Mhm.
Even though there's a rivalry, they've always had like a brotherly affection for one another. You know what I mean? Even in as we go from them in their younger age to their older age.
Right. And then you also have the characters of La Morte and Sebulba, who are the keepers of the underworld. Sebulba is for those that have been lost and forgotten, and La Morte is for those that are still in remembrance. And I love how they kind of have this little bet to see which of the two boys will work. And obviously, Sebulba is cheating by
Mhm.
giving Joaquin a badge that makes him invincible and unable to die, which, as a warrior, basically is the biggest trump card of all time.
Right, right.
So it's a playful way to kind of bring us into the world and everything like that. And I like it. They're kind of antics between each other. I loved Sebulba's kind of different ways of trying to like get the upper hand on the situation by cheating in different ways.
Mhm.
Uh, yeah, it also helps that he was voiced by Perlman. Um,
Oh man. Let me tell you something. One of the most surprising voices in here, and I didn't expect to like him so much because he's never had this much energy ever. Ice Cube.
yes.
I was so surprised.
I actually had to look up the casting for him because he plays the candle maker
Right.
and he doesn't sound like Ice Cube at all at first. It's like a tinge of his voice is there. And it was bothering me because I was listening to it. I was like, I know that voice. I know that voice, but why can I not picture this person?
Oh, I
And
knew it was him.
I didn't. it was bothering me. I actually pulled up the IMDb page and I was like, Candlemaker, Ice Cube. And then I was listening to him talk still. I was like, yeah, that is him.
This wasn't today was a good day, Ice Cube. This was today was a great day, Ice Cube.
Right.
I
Yeah.
was like, this is more energy than Are We There Yet?
Right.
I was surprised, man. He actually did a great job. I mean, he was still Ice Cube, but it was surprising. It was a surprising Ice Cube.
Yeah. It was Ice Cube in a role that isn't typical for him, which
Right.
was,
It's
it
not
was
me
good.
mugging. It's not
Right.
frowning all the time. He's a happy candle maker.
Right. He plays the happiest character in the entire movie.
Right. And when he looks scared of Exbalba, how do you say his name?
Sebulba.
Zabalba, he actually looks scared, like, oh man, I don't know about this.
Right.
Like I just loved his expressions through his voice in this film, dude.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
but yeah, man, I just this film actually surprised me in its plot too. Like it went some places I didn't think it was gonna go. I knew nothing of the plot before I watched it, so it made it all the better. So like when you have Maria, who is being proposed to by Joaquin, he's like, hey, I'd love to marry you. And Maria's dad and everybody's pressuring her, like, listen, he saves the town. If you don't marry him, he's gonna leave. We need help against this monster thing that's coming towards us. So she's a little conflicted, and of course, Manolo loves her, and Manolo doesn't want to pursue his destiny. Well, pursue what would be his destiny of being a bullfighter, because he doesn't want to kill bulls. He just wants to make music. And
Mhm.
his dad and his grandma are all like, oh man, come on, like, this is what we do. You could kill a bull, it's a bull. And so you have that. And I like how when initially, because I thought Maria was dead initially. When Maria gets bitten by the snake, I'm like, oh wow, they're gonna kill her like that
Mhm.
fast. And then Joaquin is like, I'll do anything to be with her. And homeboy takes him to the land of the he's in the land of remembered, right?
Uh oh, that was Manolo.
Right.
That it,
Manolo's in the land of the remembered, right? when
yes.
when he makes the deal with Zabalba.
Yeah, he gets bitten by the snake twice, which kills him and brings him to the land of the remembered.
Right. And I like how that happens. And then Maria, when she gets kissed by Joaquin, just Sleeping Beauty style, comes
Yeah.
back. And I was like, oh, dude, this guy is a shiesty mofo.
Mhm.
Like, he really cheats the game.
Yeah, I absolutely loved how he came up with ways to cheat it and everything like that. And even the way that El Muerte, reacts to finding out that he's been cheating this entire time and everything as well. Their relationship with each other is great.
I agree.
For whatever Sepulba definitely was like one of the high points of this movie. And I don't know if it was because of Ron Perlman or because of like the animation style with him or what, that just made him so much more lively than a lot of the people. Because you have Joaquin, who is,
I don't know,
you
man.
know,
Ice Cube was very lively.
oh, Ice Cube was very light. He didn't have too much screen time though.
Yeah.
Sebulba is popping up throughout the entire movie. The Candlemaker is only really there for about maybe 5-6 minutes.
I think it's just because of your love for Ron Perlman, man. I think that's what it
It could
is.
be
You're like,
100%. I think he's a great actor.
you're like, Perlman's in here. My
Yeah,
whole attention has changed.
right.
Dude, I love freaking the wisecracks in this movie, dude. How like with Joaquin is about to go against the main villain of the film. You remember what his name was?
Oh god.
Hmm.
It was,
It was Shakal, right? It was Shakal, right?
I think so,
The
yeah.
Bandit King.
Yes. Yep.
He's about to fight Shakal, and he's like, "Hey, pick on someone your own size." And then somebody wisecracks, "Ain't nobody that big, man." Like when they were singing the music outside Maria's window, they were choosing the different songs.
Oh
I was
yeah,
like,
going through the pop songs.
that was so hilarious to me, man. What surprised me was I really liked the musical choices used in this. Like when Homeboy just started singing Radiohead's "Creep" out of nowhere, I was like,
Mhm.
okay, that works.
Yeah. It definitely it has like a good holding on itself and taking itself seriously and not so seriously at the same time, which helps with the humor and everything because it is a pretty bare bones, love triangle story
Hmm.
between it. The one thing is, I do love when Manolo goes to the land of the remembered and kind of meets his like past ancestors and everything. We kind of get a little bit more of them with the bullfighting, the strongest bullfighter, the one that is basically a pirate where he only has one arm and one leg. The other two are replaced by swords. You have his great grandfather who fought three bulls at the same time,
Hmm.
and I like those characters a lot. And it was kind of like, oh, it's a shame that they're only popping in the last like half an hour of the movie or so,
Hmm.
because I would have loved to see more of them. Especially because they get introduced, and a real bullfighter doesn't use a cloth. A real bullfighter doesn't use all of his limbs. A real bullfighter fights three bulls at once.
Dude, I love the final showdown where it's like Homeboy has to fight against all the bulls that his family has fought and killed their entire life,
Hmm.
and then they all come into one. Like I thought that was a cool looking battle. I
Yeah.
enjoyed that, and I enjoyed, of course, him coming back to the land of the living and all of his ancestors coming back with him, and just like that fighting and how the camera just kind of goes around each of them fighting, and one of his ancestors is because she's just kind of like gossiping while she's fighting. And then he told me that he did this, and I was like, no
Oh yeah.
way. While she's fighting
The twin sisters.
right, right. Yeah, I like that, man. I thought that was a nice sequence. Like this film, I understand what a museum scenes are necessary to kind of transition us. We didn't even need that. We could have just started from the beginning with
Right.
Christina Applegate being the narrator. We didn't even need the kids. But I like it, man. For the minute we got put into this world, man, I was in.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. The art style and the tone and everything like that, it definitely brings this movie up. And, you know, I know that I've said the art style a couple times, but man, this art style, I absolutely love
It's
it.
beautiful.
It's one of those off-putting art styles because it's not something you normally see, that it just brings you in, and the more you look at it, you're just like, I love this. This is amazing. And it's such a great way to kind of bring this world alive because it's an easier way to show like the day of or the land of the remembrance, because literally they just painted skeletons onto like the wooden figures.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They look pretty much exactly the same as the people that are alive and everything. And I love that color choice where you have like the land of remembrance is all bright and vibrant with all these like neon kind of colors and everything to kind of bring you out of the fact that they're in a different world.
Yep,
It
for
it's
sure.
such a great way of doing it.
Yeah, I completely agree. It was amazing, dude. Yeah, the plot line is pretty good. The music is very good. Um, it, outside of exposition, I would say there's like almost nothing I can complain about with this film.
Mhm.
It's very very representative of the culture. I'm not the best person to say it's accurate of the culture, but from what I hear, it gives a great representation of the culture. You know, Gutierrez is Mexican, so he brought that with him when speaking about de los Muertos. Yeah, 4.5 to me. I really enjoyed it.
This is a 4
Nope.
for me. It's the only thing that really
Okay.
holds it back is just the
Nope.
story is just it's so predictable, but everything around the story is just
Really?
top
You thought it's
notch.
predictable?
I did. It just came off as, I can tell where this is going. I bet she isn't actually dead. Yep, she's not actually dead. He got
Hmm.
tricked into this. Well, now he's going to be the king there. Now they're going to have to go down into, now he's going to have to figure out how to get into the land of the forgotten to get to El Morte to,
Oh
bring
yeah,
things
I
back.
knew that had to happen, but
Right.
yeah, okay. Maybe these days I like to be fooled.
Yeah.
I
I
get what you're
guess
saying.
also like the love triangle kind of story is just it's so played out that it's
Mm,
hard to do much with that. I get it for the point of this film and everything like that, where they had to go with that kind of layout, but it's just such a played out thing that unless it does something extremely out of left field, which I didn't think that the story did that for this
hmm.
one, it didn't capture me for that. It was mostly the visuals, the characters, everything else kind of going around the story is what caught me.
Mm. Okay, okay, fair enough, fair enough.
Yeah.
All right,
Which
all
is a
right.
testament to those parts because literally story is typically the most important thing in a movie. And if
Listen,
that was the only thing that didn't catch me.
I think the characters were lively enough for me to like the story was just a bonus to me. You know, I don't know much about Dia de los Muertos, so me watching this it was a new experience all around. You know what I'm saying? I hadn't seen any of these films before. So when I kind of like watch it, I was like, okay, that's new. Oh, I didn't know that about that culture in that day. Oh, that's interesting. You know, so
Mhm.
it was all pretty much new and exciting to me.
Gotcha.
All right, man, ready to move on?
I am ready to move on, which brings us to the second film to play homage to the Day of the Dead with Pixar's Coco.
Mm,
Again, taking place in Mexico, we follow the story of Miguel, a 12-year-old boy who is born to a family of shoemakers that absolutely hate music due to the fact that his great 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 grandfather had left the family in order to pursue a career in music and then never returned. Following this, he falls in love with music. He absolutely loves it and he wants it to be his life, even though his family wants nothing to do with music, especially his, great grandmother who has a absolute hate for music due to the what her mother went through with everything in the family.
mm,
So Miguel has a entire thing where he tries to get his family to understand his love for music. They don't, so he runs off. And upon stealing a guitar that he believes is a part of his family that belongs to a popular musician known as Ernesto, he has stolen property of the dead and thus gets transported to the land of the dead themselves,
mm.
where he meets his family and then is on a track to try and find a way to get back home with a promise that he can continue pursuing a career in music, thinking that the only person that can do that is Ernesto himself.
Right, right. Um, yeah, you know, with this movie, man, we're Book of Life. Once we got past the exposition, it kind of hooked me. Coco took me a minute. Like it took me a
Mhm.
minute to kind of get invested in the story. Like, you know, of course, I know what Pixar, you know, well, there's different ways on how they start a story, but it's like if the characters don't immediately hook you, you kind of got to get hooked in through the story.
Mhm.
Like, you know, I'm not gonna talk about other films right now by Pixar, but like so Miguel, of course, Miguel wants to pursue something that the whole family doesn't want anything to do with. You know, it's kind of Disney formula. You know what I'm saying? There's
Mhm.
always the main character who maybe younger or older has different is looked at as different from any other character or from their family. That's what sets
Right.
up the conflict.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
always, I want to be this. Well, no, our family, are
right,
shoemakers. You're going to be a shoemaker, but I don't want to be a shoemaker. And that's, yeah.
right, right. So basically, with that, Miguel, you know, there are certain moments throughout the film. I want to say early on where it's like, you know, they go, you can't do music. We don't do music. And then when he's in the land of remembered, his great great grandma says, "Okay, I'll send you back, but you can't do music." He goes
Mhm.
back. Dude immediately grabs the guitar. Like
Right.
he's selfish, but he's realistically selfish because he's a kid. We're all
Mhm.
selfish as kids, you know. So that I understood that part of it, but it's like it took me a while to kind of get on his wavelength until again the moment he actually goes towards the land of remembered. You know, like I feel like the exposition like didn't grab me as much. it didn't grab me as much because it was longer than the exposition in Book of Life, and so I was like, okay, let me just stick around and see what happens. But I feel like the film gets very much stronger, like when it's him and Hector hanging around.
Yes. Yeah, the strongest parts of this movie definitely are after he's in the land of the dead, and he's basically interacting with that world, because the world he comes from, we see it from his perspective of, he loves his family and everything like that. He has his, great great grandmother, Coco, who doesn't talk or do anything. She kind of just always sits there, and but he talks to her and kind of gives the exposition of like who he is to her, which I thought was a cute way of them kind of doing a character introduction to show
Mm-hmm.
kind of his personality and everything. But yeah, beyond that, it's a very boring world that he kind of lives in. And it once it's he brings gets brought into the Day of the Dead, uh and everything like that, it's, they do an explanation of it, and it's the same explanation we see in the Book of Life. Those that are remembered are seen as being able to come back and see you one more time during this day, everything like that. Those that are forgotten, end up being sent to a land that nobody knows of.
Right.
And it's a very, again, it's the way that the culture is and how the holiday is. It's a good, bare bones explanation of the culture and what this day means to people and families. uh
Right. Absolutely.
Once that's out of the way, we can get to the fun part of the movie, which is when he's in the land of the dead and gets to meet his old family members and everything like that. And you can kind of see their different personalities. I love how they play around with the idea that because they're skeletons, they can play around and, they can lose a limb and then just pop it back in. It's not a big deal. Their head falls off, not a big deal.
Well, I love the whole thing of Hector coming up with the idea to like face paint Miguel to have him blend
Yes.
in with everybody. Because up until that point, everybody's like, "What is a human doing here?"
Hmm.
You're like, what's going on?" What did I want to say? I wanted to say, dude, is this the first time a murderer for a character has been in a Pixar film?
uh I don't
I think
I mean,
so.
I guess so, for killing an actual another person, because we have had like hunters and stuff in Pixar films, but I guess for killing another person and being like admitting to, yes, I killed you, yes, I did this. Yeah, I think so.
That was wild. Like the twist itself was very good, but I was like
Mhm.
looking like, this might be the first time Pixar put a murderer in one of their films. I was
Yeah.
like, this film is dark.
Yeah, this film hits some pretty dark points, and I like how they actually have a twist that you can kind of see coming, but at the same time, when it happens and it starts unfolding, you're like, wow, that one, okay, that got me. I didn't see all of that.
I knew I knew it. I thought in the back of my head he was really his great great granddad, but I thought it for the wrong reasons.
Hmm.
Like when they're in the elevator and he's like, "Oh, I'm Dela Cruz' great great grandson." Just wait a minute. It seems like he starts counting years to himself. I was like, "Oh, is he really De La Cruz?" Is I thought it for the wrong reasons. I thought Hector
Right.
was a forgotten De La Cruz or something. I didn't know the whole story of like,
Right. You were replacing the characters around and being like, oh no, so he's actually Ernesto, and this person is,
right.
yeah.
But yeah, I hear you, man. The way they played that out was so great. The way they tied that together.
Oh yeah. Because we eventually get to Miguel meeting Ernesto, and Ernesto is just so prideful because he's like, I have a grandson, or a great grandson. This is
Mhm.
amazing. I didn't know I had any family.
Right.
And there's so many clues. Like every time like he tells somebody, I'm Ernesto's great grandson, and everybody's like, wait, what? Because it's like a known thing he didn't have any family. He toured and he was, doing all that stuff with his music career as his like number one thing, and that's all. And even when Hector's kind of going through, it was like, wait, you're his great grandson. And then you're talking, doing the counting. It was like, hold on, wait a minute. And trying to figure out the math behind it and, how that can happen.
Yeah, I that was the thing when man, what's his name? Who's the forgotten musician? Was it Hector?
Hector was the father that was like left to be forgotten.
Okay, so yeah, when Hector's like counting off on his hand, I was like, wait, it might be him, but I thought it for the wrong reasons, like I
Yeah.
said. But dude, I love how in the end the whole title of the movie comes together because I'm like, dude, why is it called Coco? Like, because I still don't get it. Then you realize that the very older woman that's in the wheelchair, her name is Coco, and that was his daughter. He doesn't want to be forgotten. And I was like, she's starting to forget him as she gets older. I was like, oh, now that makes perfect sense.
Hmm. Also, his entire Hector does come off as a little bit sleazy, but his reason for it completely makes sense because he's losing time to see his daughter one last time. Because he hasn't been able to see his daughter at all since even before he passed away, because he was brought onto this music tour away from his family. And it was when he was trying to get back to his family that he was poisoned and died. And in the land of the dead, he was never able to get through to be able to see his family one more time due to the fact that they never put his photo on the mantle.
See, yeah, I know, I get that part. My thing is, I don't think he came off sleazy to me. I thought he was just a guy that was down on his luck, trying his best to get across. Like I love the different the different disguises he uses.
Oh,
Um, especially when he comes to Ernesto's place and he's dressed as I forgot what the person's name was. And Ernesto thinks it's really her. Like, I thought you said you couldn't make it. And then Hector just rolls his eyes and takes the disguise off. Like, it's me, dummy. Like,
mhm.
I'm here to you know, to some confrontation that was happening. But I just like he comes off sleazy, but I don't think he's see, he didn't come off sleazy to me. He came off to somebody that was really just trying to get to the other side, and that it was important for us to know why he was trying to get to the other side. We didn't know exactly how everything turned out and how everything was like connected in the beginning, but we knew he was important.
Right. It's definitely more in the beginning. He comes off as a little bit sleazy, where he's like kind of using Miguel to get to his ends. It's basically when they get to the concert and everything like that that he comes
Mm.
off as more like, okay, he's a good guy. When you see like one of his best friends finally get forgotten and pass on to a world that nobody knows.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a very emotional scene with him with the guitar and everything like that. And that's where it starts being okay, there's more to this character. He's not just gonna be the run of the mill guy that is trying to use Miguel and then turn out to be the bad guy in the end.
Did did his great grandma die at an old age? Like I'm talking about like the
uh,
woman that was married to Hector.
yes.
Okay, because she still looked young in that other world. She still like
She had the one like gray kind of tint of hair to kind of show that she was older and everything like that.
okay.
But yeah, she was definitely, she died of old age. Same with most of the family.
I like the confrontation with Ernesto when the big flying tiger cat thing comes and like just drops him and then picks him back up and then throws him and then the bell just like how he
Oh yeah.
died. It just crashes down on him in the afterlife. And I like how in the real life everyone's like partying and hanging out, and then you see the words uh no, you see remembered. I think you see the word remembered on Ernesto on Hector's face, and then you see forgotten on Ernesto. You see the word remembered on Hector's face. You see forgotten on Ernesto's face, right?
Yeah, on his tombstone, to be forgotten.
Right. I thought that was pretty funny. But I wanted to say, man, when they're in the afterlife, and Hector is like, he's fine. He finally gets over. He hugs his daughter, who is older. I'm like, dude, that is such an interstellar moment.
Mhm.
Like the younger dad coming to see the daughter who was like very, very old.
Right.
I was like, that's such an interstellar moment. I just started laughing. It's cute, but it's so funny at the same time.
Right. It's the whole thing of, wait, when you die, you just stay the age that you died at. That's
Right?
kind
That
of a pretty
sucks.
shitty deal.
Like that sucks. Like he's still young. She's like older, and and like how's he able to carry her?
Right. Yeah.
But I'm like, listen, the physics don't make sense. It's a Pixar movie. Just don't look too
They're
much into it.
skeletons. Just don't think too much into it.
Right, right. Um, yeah, I thought the music in here was pretty good. I kind of like the music in Book of Life a little better, even though that's not as original. They were taking they were taking already made songs in Book of Life. But I kind of like the music in here. I thought Remember Me is pretty good. A lot of it was like Miguel kind of showing his pipes how he can sing. Because at
Mhm.
first all I heard was oh, I was like, that's singing. But
Yeah.
I guess as he kind of went into the music, I was like, oh, okay, he can sing.
Yeah, I do like how they did that for his first going in front of people and performing, where you
Hmm.
have Hector there kind of like trying to get him through and be like, okay, you got to loosen up, you do your yell. Ah, okay, maybe not do that.
Maybe you should follow your family's advice and
Right.
go
Maybe
make
you're not
shoes.
right. Maybe you're not a performer after all.
Maybe
And
maybe you could be a songwriter instead.
right, yeah. Uh
Yeah.
and
Um. Overall, I say this is a solid 4. I enjoyed it.
this one's a 4.5 to me.
Wow.
I love the story of this, the characters, the music, the atmosphere, the way that it plays with the land of the dead. It's just all vibrant. I loved it. Absolutely. The characters were a whole lot more interesting in the day of the or the land of the dead when you're
Hmm.
introduced to his family, the other people that Hector knows. I love how it becomes this weird game of trying to like sneak into Ernesto's tower, and he meets the other people that were playing during the you know performance kind of ceremony, and he sneaks in with them to be able to meet Ernesto. Even how he finally gets Ernesto's attention by performing one of his songs at the party and everything.
Hmm.
It's it's such a great kind of thing, and then the twist of showing your net. It's There's so much about this movie to love that. Yeah, I absolutely love it.
Yeah, I got you. I agree with you. I don't agree with the point five, but I do agree that it really is a great movie. Yeah. Yeah, so I think when it all comes down to it, I guess we're at another draw. I really thought Coco was really great for what it was. I just think Book of Life kind of hit me a little harder with its craft and the way its story unfolded. But it's listen, I don't think it's a bad choice to go either way. I just think I'm leaning a little more towards Book of Life as the better one.
Yeah, this is one of those ones where it's two great movies that we have here, and they follow the same kind of like storyline based on, the Day of the Dead. And I love that each one actually has a character that is wants to get into the life of music, but is told no, their family is for something else, because we have Manalo's being told he has to be a bullfighter, Miguel's told he has to be a shoemaker, and I thought that was a funny little coincidence between these two movies that they decided to go like that route. And I know that it's not like a Coco ripped off the Book of Life kind of thing either. Because it's just they happen to have that same kind of, plot line tied to them. But yeah, they both shine for completely different reasons. Book of Life shines with its artistic style and its way of storytelling, and then Coco shines with its characterizations and its more interesting world of that it takes place in. They
Hmm.
both have their extremely high ups, and then they have those downs that bring them just a tinge.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. It's like I saw Encanto before I saw this movie. And I know
Mhm.
it's two different films. One is Mexican, one is Colombian. But it's like when they both kind of deal with, and again, it's the Disney formula, so I kind of have to remember that it's the
Right,
one main
yeah.
character who's different from the rest of her family. In Encanto, her family does magic. She's the only one that doesn't do magic. You know, in Coco, the main character loves music. The rest of the family doesn't love music. So I kind of had to separate myself there. Like, okay, I got to remember it's the Disney formula. It's not the two movies, it's the formula. So once I kind of got into the groove of Coco and its own different plot, I said, okay, all right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it is one of those things where, I mentioned it with the Book of Life where it's got predictability. Coco has that same problem toward the beginning. It's just after that kind of opening sequence, it goes into this, okay, I can't tell you what's going to happen next. And even when you're like, oh, I think I know what's going to happen next, you're just like completely thrown back when it's something different. You're like, oh, wow, okay. I
Yeah.
didn't see
Yeah.
that coming at all.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right. Now that we're at the after show topics of the show, anything you've been watching lately?
So lately, I have not been watching too much. I started watching the new Star Wars show Andor. Really good. I got to actually say, like, this is. It doesn't. It feels like Star Wars while not being formulaic like Star Wars.
Hmm.
And I kind of like that. It's kind of pulling the same kind of vibe that Mandalorian had, where it's something that feels, that you remember, but it feels completely fresh.
Hmm.
Which I didn't expect too much from this show. Like when they announced that they were doing a show based on the guy from Rogue One, I was like, oh, right, yeah, okay, whatever. And now I'm watching and going, okay, you know what? I was wrong. This is good. I really like this.
Listen, man, when you have a lot of money thrown at you, and you have some very creative people behind the scenes that really want to make something great. You can hit a gold mine like you did with Mandalorian in this.
Hmm.
I haven't seen either, but I've heard glowing reviews for two of these shows. The stuff in between, Boba Fett, what was the other one? Obi-Wan Kenobi. I've heard I mean, if you're a fan, they're good, but like I heard like the high points right now are Mandalorian and Andor.
For sure. Like Obi-Wan, I think the problem it had was with pacing, where it was like, we got to tell this story that takes place in a short period of time over the course of 8 episodes. And so they were writing it out, and then they were like, oh shit, we still have only one episode left to tell the rest of this story. And they were just like, okay, cram it all in there. Uh Book of Boba Fett, it wasn't bad. It was just not what people expected because it became more of a politics on, Tatooine kind of thing than watching a bounty hunter show like Mandalorian.
Hmm. Okay, interesting,
So
interesting.
that one, I don't think it was bad. It was just not what people expected.
Right, right, and the criticism isn't that they're bad. It's just that they're just like you said, not what they were expecting, a little slower than they were expecting to.
Right. And I
Uh,
think where, you have Andor and Mandalorian have that benefit is there's no expectations with these shows. You
mm,
had Mandalorian as a completely new character in this universe that could do whatever. And, there's nobody that's going to go, that's not the Mandalorian I remember. That's not what I think he would do because he's a
right,
new
right.
character. How can you? And then with Andor, basically people were like, oh, yeah, that guy from Rogue One, whatever, and then they're watching going, "Oh man, this is actually good."
I haven't really been too much into the new Disney Plus content, but I heard that it is. I heard that it is good. I do plan to watch this stuff. Now, I want to ask you: when you watch the Marvel shows and when you watch the Star Wars shows, is the content as on par with the films? Like as far as
Uh
like, I know the budget is there, but I mean the content.
when it comes to Star Wars, I think it's actually doing better than the movies for the simple fact that they have more time to develop out these characters and put them in different scenarios and everything. They're not
Mm-hmm.
constrained to just a 2-hour timeline.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to Marvel, it's a little bit more hit and miss how they do it because you can tell that there's a little bit more control and precision on those shows to, meet certain goals and everything, which you have some shows that kind of play around with that a little bit more, like She-Hulk, and then you have some that kind of go bare bones, like this is what we have to do with the Falcon Winter Soldier. And so those ones are a little bit more hit and miss to me.
Okay, okay, okay. Fair enough. Fair
Because
enough.
you can tell that they had to play into a bigger world. Mandalorian doesn't have to worry about what other things are doing. Andor, they really don't have to worry about what else is going on. The Bad Batch, they can do literally anything. They're pushed into this time where they don't interact with anything else that really matters for the Star Wars, you know, canon. And but with the Marvel stuff, they had to take all that into effect where okay, the things that play out in this are going to have ramifications for the next movie. Like the events of WandaVision had, they tied into Doctor Strange too.
Yeah.
The events of She-Hulk are going to eventually tie into a future movie or series for the Hulk. It, it has a lot more connection to that universe, which makes it a lot harder for them to take, risks with it, I guess.
Okay, so can that be exhaustive?
A little bit. I think
Mm.
that She-Hulk did a very good job with it, kind of being closer to the comics with its comedy and everything like that, and not so much being, this is a superhero show. It was a superhero lawyer show, which it takes its hits with it. And you have a character that breaks the fourth wall, which definitely kind of brings a little bit more humor with it and making fun of like the tropes of the MCU and stuff. But at the same time, it's like one of those things of, yeah, we're doing the tropes, but we're making fun of it too. So we get a pass, right? It's like, no, you don't get a pass because you just pointed it out. You're still following the tropes.
Right, right, right. Yeah, man. As far as things on the agenda, I'm probably gonna head out and go see Tar today. It's the newest the Todd Field film with Kate Blanchett in the lead role. I've heard nothing but glowing reviews from critics, man. I'm really excited for this. So the thing with Todd Field is he comes out like almost every other decade with
Mhm.
movies. Like he has like 3 movies under his belt because like he I don't know, he's just like he takes a long time between each projects, and this is his newest one, so I'm interested to see what happens.
What was his last movie that he did?
I think his last movie, I think I want to say Little Children, but I'm not sure. Let me just make sure here, because I know he
Yeah.
did In the Bedroom with Sissy Spacek and my man Tom Wilkinson. I think his last movie was Little Children.
Okay.
Yeah. In the Bedroom, Little Children, and this is now his third film. He's an actor too. But as far as like directing, like feature films, like he's like he has a lot of time in between each one. So his first one was in 2001, second one 2006, and now we got this one in 2022.
Okay. So there was a little bit of a gap there,
Just a little bit, just a little
a
bit of a
little
gap.
bit.
But yeah, man, he's a terrific director, and yeah, I'm excited to see this one, man. I'm tomorrow, sometime on the agenda, I'm gonna probably go see Triangle of Sadness. That has Woody Harrelson in it, and like it's really a movie about like these rich people on a cruise, and then things go horrifically wrong. And Woody Harrelson's the captain, but it won the Palme d'Or, and plus I like the director of it, so they say it's a pretty good satire.
I heard about that one. It's on my list, but at the same time, it's one of those indie movies, so it doesn't play during normal hours around here.
Oh, who you telling, man? I gotta go with some random time around like 3:35 p.m.
Right, yeah.
You couldn't just make it 3:30. Like why
Right.
you gotta push it to the 5? You know what I'm saying?
Why are you doing this to me?
Right, right, right. But yeah, I should enjoy that one. I heard that's a really long one too, but it should be good. It should be good. Uh oh, Wakanda Forever, dude. I'm hearing initial reviews saying it's amazing.
Uh I mean, take it with a grain of salt. Everything Marvel that comes out is basically, oh my god, it's the best thing ever. You know. But at the same time, I don't think that it's going to be a bad movie, but the initial reviews for almost every Marvel movie have always been, oh, this is amazing. This is going to be the greatest thing in theaters this year.
I'll say you're right. I can't speak to that, but I'll say you're right. I don't know, man. Some Marvel films, I kind of been hearing initial reviews and them going like, yeah, man, this is gonna be just all right. But if you like this person, you'll like this. Like, I don't know. Were initial reviews for Black Widow glowing?
Uh, I don't think there were really initial reviews for Black Widow because that one was that weird in between space when they were trying to figure out to release it in theaters versus Disney Plus and everything like that.
I know initial reviews for Multiverse of Madness were glowing.
Yeah, Multiverse of Madness, Thor: Love and Thunder had amazing reviews from critics at the beginning, and then all of a sudden, all critics kind of went, "Yeah, I guess the movie was all right" after it came out. It was like, really?
You know what, man? I'm gonna believe the hype. I mean, Ryan Coogler hasn't made a bad movie.
Oh yeah,
He just
I
hasn't.
100% believe the hype and everything for this one. It's just one of those things where it's like initial reactions, like, yeah, it doesn't mean anything for Marvel movies though.
You know what? Maybe so. But some part of me believes, yeah, this is gonna like meet the hype. Um, yeah. All right. Well, that's it for me, man. Anything else from you?
Nothing else on my side.
Nope. All right, folks. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Check out our written reviews on 8bitwaffles.com. You can find me on Twitter at Black Cinephile. You can find Brad on Twitter at Brad Wosner. Yeah, that'll be it. Take care. Don't forget to love and watch movies, and catch you on the next one.